There are things that you need to do or you want to do, but you can't seem to find the inspiration or the motivation to get your ass moving to start them. After all, it is extremely appealing to sit on the couch and scroll, to watch a movie or lots of Netflix, or do basically anything else to avoid doing the thing that you don't have the motivation to do. So, how do you find motivation when you are unmotivated? How do you get the oomph to get going so that you can actually complete the things that you want to start or need to finish? That, my friend, is the entire premise around this Powerback episode. Look, motivation is not going to fall out of the sky, come into your house, punch you in the face, and then light you up like a magical unicorn. It's in fact in these moments where you must learn to be your number one advocate and support yourself with the tools to get shit done. If this sounds like you, download Powerback episode 172 on your favorite player or go to the GutsyPodcast.com. Before we get into the details of this, though, I have to say that one of the most powerful ways to continue to get things done, kind of piggybacking off what we're talking about here today, is the power of community and accountability. Sometimes when we're out there floundering around by ourselves, our mind starts to take over. It's like, oh, nobody's really watching. Nobody's holding me accountable to this. So, like, what's the harm? And while it's not always about pushing through, we're going to talk about that today as well. It can be really, really beneficial to have people in your corner to not only hold you accountable, but to help encourage and motivate you as well. That, my friend, is why the Gutsy Collective exists. The Gutsy Collective is an online community. Right now, there's a free group, but maybe, just maybe, there is a deeper version of that being constructed right now as we speak. But for right now, you can go to LauraAura.com, click on the Gutsy Collective, or scroll down and click on it in the show notes here and join the group. There's accountability, there's conversation, there's live sessions together, and this is really a place to come together with like-minded people. So if you're tired of doing all this shiznit on your own, again, go to LauraAura.com and click on the Gutsy Collective. All right, so let's talk about motivation as a whole for a second. I think it is incredibly important to acknowledge and first set the tone that you do not always need to be or feel motivated, and that your life does not require you to always push through. It's really easy to get up in your head and be like, I'm not motivated. So what's wrong with me? And I should want this. And I was excited about this yesterday. So what's going on? This is not an invitation to beat yourself up even further. This is not the opportunity to now play the shame game. This is about honoring and accepting that you are also a human being. And sometimes your human being needs to just stop. It needs to rest. It needs to refuel. It needs to get reconnected. And I'm going to dig into this a little bit further in this episode when we're weighing like, okay, how do I know the difference between when I need to push through versus when I need to rest? Because I think that that's a really important cornerstone to acknowledge. But I just wanted to set this tone right here up front to let you know that it's not always about pushing through. It's truly always about honoring who you are and what you need in the moment. Thank you for attending my TED Talk. We'll get back into your regularly scheduled program now. So motivation is like, you're not always going to feel like doing stuff, right? Like there are so many different tasks, responsibilities, things that need done, to-do lists, hell, even things that you want to do. It's not always about the negativity. It's also about the positive things that you want to do as well. But the thing about motivation is you're not always going to feel like doing the things that you need to do. And the sooner that you can release this expectation that you must be inspired to be motivated to do things, the sooner that this gets to be a little bit easier on yourself. You're not always going to feel like making the phone call to the doctor's office. You're not always going to feel inspired to work out, go to the gym, take a walk. You're not always going to feel inspired to finish the shit that you started, the 10 different piles of all the things that you began but haven't yet finished. You're not always going to feel motivated to open up your laptop and manage your finances. And I'm going to say this one for all of us. You're not always going to feel like making dinner because damn, like every single day, we got to eat dinner every single day. I don't know about you, but sometimes that shit just gets really annoying. And I'm like, where is my personal chef? That is on my vision board, my friends. Yes, it absolutely is. The point is, there are things that need your time and attention on a regular basis that you're not always going to feel motivated to do. But where this starts to become a problem and a challenge is when you get caught in your head and are always just thinking about not wanting to do the thing that you need to do, and they stack on each other. This is when your to-do list gets really chunky. This is when deadlines start to creep up on you. This is when the responsibility of it starts to get kind of real. And instead of taking action, you are sitting and dwelling on the bigness of these things. The real honest truth here is that the stress of thinking about doing things on a regular basis is actually way harder on your mind and on your body than actually doing the damn thing and getting it done. And I think you know that, right? Like you've been in that situation where you've put something off, you put it off, you put it off, and then you did it, and it took you like 37 seconds to do, and you're like, why didn't I fucking do this sooner? Like, this was so much easier to do than just sit around and think about it. And that's where our mindset really comes into play, when we can recognize and build awareness around, okay, what am I procrastinating on? What am I pushing off? And what's causing me to just not want to do these things in the first place? Well, more often than not, you're already bogged down, you're already stressed out, you already got too many things to do. So perpetuating the feeling by honing in on what you have to do, but not feeling motivated to do it, is only kind of amplifying that, right? Again, easier said than done. I get it. But the truth here is that this is possible, that you have way more control and power over this shit than what you're giving yourself permission to have. And oftentimes we come to kind of this cornerstone, right? Of, okay, what do I actually need? Do I need to push through and like get motivated to do this? Or do I need to pause and rest? That in its own can cause us to go back and forth like, oh, well, I really need to do this, but I'm also really tired. And if I put this off, right? It just gets louder and it gets noisier and it gets more confusing. So the first thing that we've got to do is get really fucking aware that we're doing that in the first place. You know, on the last Powerback, I was talking to you about how we just walk and exist and do in autopilot. And the wavering between the should I do it and should I not do it? Oh, hello, shoulds. This is your opportunity to like literally sit up, lean up, or just like get very conscious and like wake the shit up. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? Do I need to push through and get this done? Or do I need to rest? And how do you know the difference between this? Okay, take this on an individual basis where you can really evaluate this for yourself. I'm going to use a personal example here just to give some extra context. For me, it's often about riding my Peloton bike. I'm not motivated to do it. I'm not excited about it. I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm kind of in this blasé. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm scrolling on TikTok for a long period of time. And you know what I'm doing? I'm fighting myself mentally, silently. I should ride my bike. I know that makes me feel better, but I don't really want to do this right now because I am really comfortable right now. And I go back and forth in this game of ping pong. And you know what? The time goes by, nothing happens. And I end up more stressed than when I started to think about that initial thought of, hey, maybe I could ride the Peloton right now. It's in this moment of like radical self-awareness where I'm like, boom, okay, sit up, Laura. Let's just think about this logically, consciously for a second. Do I ride the bike? Do I sit here? So what do you do in this moment? Okay. The first step is establish your goal or intent. And this sometimes happens outside of this situation. But one of my personal goals is to regain my health. This is an important thing to me so that I feel better, I have more energy, and I'm just like more connected with myself. I also know that with this goal, I also have a tool that supports me, a tool that I work towards and have very conveniently stationed in my home. And I also know that when I use said tool, I feel like $1,000,000 fucking dollars. So, because I've established that goal or intent outside of this particular situation, you might need to do a little soul searching or backpedaling to figure out what that why is. And that's okay. But knowing that helps to empower you in these decision moments. So I've sat up, I've built awareness. The question to ask yourself in this moment is, what do I need right now? What's going to support who I am and what I need right now in this moment? And is there something that can help me in this moment, that can help me feel better, that can improve things? And what is that thing? There are some days where my body's like, you know what? I know that the Peloton makes me feel a whole lot better after I ride it, but I'm pretty exhausted today. And the thing that will improve that right now in this moment is to snuggle up on this couch with my favorite blanket and watch something on TV. And that's what I was talking about in my micro tiny TED talk at the beginning of this episode, is that that is an okay answer. It is okay to honor your needs in that moment. In fact, it's very, very necessary. It's when you keep pushing and shoving and forcing yourself to do things that you completely overexert yourself. But just like everything, there are also two sides of the coin. And also getting in that pattern of only doing nothing also doesn't change anything. So this pause moment of honoring and really getting true with yourself, what do I really need in this moment? What would help me right now? Sometimes the answer is to just sit and relax. And other times it's, you know what? Get up. It's time to go downstairs and get on that damn bike. So what is your body asking of you? Is it asking you to rest and refuel? Or is it asking you to get up and go? Now, this answer, I just want you to know, is often a very quick moving, very subtle answer, because the rest of your mind's going to want to get involved and get its opinion in there and be like doing this whole tug of war dance. The answer is going to like zoom in your head or in your body, and it's going to be like, oh, that was quick. What did you say? The more you start to listen for that voice or that feeling, the more you strengthen it, the easier it is to hear. But the trick here then is to act on that. The trick here is to choose. Because again, what is causing you way more stress than the actual thing itself is the wavering back and forth between what you should do versus deciding what you want to do and then taking action from there. So if that quick answer is, I really just need to sit here, then your choice is to decide to sit there and release the shame, the expectation, the I should be doing this and blah, blah, and I'm not productive. This is not an invitation to beat yourself up, my friend. You have decided. Remember, when you decide to rest and refuel, let yourself rest and refuel. But if you get that little whisper where it's like, get your ass up, then it's in that very quick moving moment where you decide and you act. Now, here's where the motivation piece comes in. Okay. We've done the awareness, we've got the evaluation, we've gotten the very quick moving answer. Now we're choosing to move forward. I still don't maybe feel like it, and that's okay. Because again, motivation doesn't just like strike you all the time. Motivation comes from movement. So what's one next thing that you could do? For me, in this scenario, it might be to go put on some yoga pants and the appropriate gear to go ride the bike. Sometimes I also like to preemptively like trick myself to be motivated in the future by like when I get home from my office, I go home and I change immediately, right? Like there are house clothes. I want to be a sack of potatoes when I'm in my house. So that's exactly what I'm doing. But I found that I can trick myself to be motivated more in the future by changing out of my day clothes into whatever my workout clothes are. And sometimes then that motivates me a little bit more to take a walk later or to ride the bike later. So think about how can I like maybe motivate my future self by doing one thing even before I get to that point. Knowing what my goal or intent is, how can I help my future self with that? So what's one next step that you could do? Even if you're just simply in that moment, what's one thing that you can move forward with? One thing that you can take action on. If it's making dinner, maybe it's pulling up Pinterest and seeing what's good. If it's managing your finances, maybe it's grabbing your laptop and turning it on. If it's making that doctor's appointment, maybe it's looking up what the phone number is. I'm talking about like tiny micro next steps that without these, the bigger thing can't happen. So the little tiny thing's not so bad, right? Because what happens here in this is the beautiful thing that you've been wanting all along. which is the motivation to get it done. Now, if you really want to amp this up, I love to pair simple baby steps with something else that I know that works really well to motivate you. For instance, music is an incredible energy impactor. And if you know that you need to make dinner and you've popped open Pinterest, maybe you've also put on one of your favorite playlists and are blaring it in your house. If it's ramping yourself up to look at your finances, maybe it's plugging in a podcast that you enjoy. I mean, you're kind of listening to one right now, but maybe there are others as well. If it's to finish something that you just really don't want to finish, but it really just needs to be fucking finished, maybe you get up and shake it out or yell it out loud. Just simply moving the energy and adding on an amplifier can really help to get the momentum moving. And this, again, is truly where the magic starts to happen. That before you know it, you're doing the thing that you were overthinking the shiznit about. Dinner is done and you've eaten it. The reconciling that you needed to do in your finances, it's done. For me, the bike ride, I'm done. I'm sweaty. I'm feeling like $1 million fucking dollars. The motivation that you are looking for comes from deciding and then acting. Motivation is built on momentum. And when you are actively forward moving, that creates momentum. And the momentum, my friend, creates the inspiration. And literally the thing that you've been putting off or procrastinating on or going back and forth, before you know it, it is finished. It is done. Or it has led you on to the next great thing, whatever that may be. But if you sit around and wait for the magic unicorn to strike from the sky, can that happen sometimes? For sure. Every once in a while, I get a windfall and I'm like, ta-da, I'm super. And I have this great idea and I'm ready to go. And that's fantastic. But it's in the moments of self-discipline when that is not present, when you can control the outcome of the situation by getting super aware of the wavering, by getting super aware of the thought or the feeling, by choosing and then deciding. I promise it will make your life so much easier. And dare I say, you'll get even so much more done. And, if you're tired of doing this stuff alone and you need a little extra oomph and support behind you, join us in the Gutsy Collective. We're doing accountability every single week. There are live calls every month. There are so many opportunities for you to connect with like-minded people. And sometimes motivation can strike simply by logging in and having a conversation, or by seeing that other people are doing things right alongside you. So if you're looking for a community and need a little extra swift kick in the mental ass, go to LauraAura.com and click on the Gutsy Collective to join us. Next Tuesday's episode is for my business owners specifically, or aspiring business owners. If you are wanting to put yourself out there, be your authentic self on social media, but that kind of terrifies you, next week's episode is just for you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you get notified when new episodes air, and come say hello. I love to have conversation with you on social media. You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram using @thatLauraAura. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.